In 1998, my brother, 23 years old at the time, had just gotten married. And very early on, he realized he married a woman she just couldn't be tamed. I'm not going to sit here and bash the fuck out of her, but her leaving my brother, he just kind of lost his mind. He moved in with my mother and started drinking heavily. And the problem with that was when he drank, he got extremely mean. And there were many times we would have to wrestle him to the ground and just hold him there until we could get him to calm down. Well, one day my mother made a drug deal with a woman. Her name was Kathy. And my mother ripped her off. Okay, let's just say it like it is. My mother ripped her off and she swore she was going to get my mother. Not long after, my brother was introduced to a 16-year-old girl who claimed she was 18. And I know you're going to say that's what they all say, but in this case, this is absolutely true because she was friends with Kathy, the woman that my mother ripped off. So she got my brother, met up with him somehow. I don't know how they met, but he ended up sleeping with her. The next day, bam, he got hit with a statutory rape charge. His charge would be 6 months in jail, 6 months in jail, and 6 months on probation. And he made it almost to the end. But one night, when my mother visited, she had visited him during the day, he slipped her a note. And the note said, I'm sorry, and all those things a person that's going to hurt themselves would say. She didn't read it till she had already left the jail, and she went back inside and showed the jail staff. The jail staff went to the psychiatrist, gave him the note. He called my brother in. He said, your mother contacted us, and she said, you're going to kill yourself. My brother said, no, I'm not going to do anything like that. So they sent him right back to his cell. And a few hours later, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. He tied a bed sheet around his neck and leaned forward. While this was happening, it's a small jail because it's a tiny county jail in upstate New York. And the inmates were stomping on the floor. He's killing himself. He's killing himself. Nobody came. When they finally did come and cut him down, it turned into a huge investigation. And of course, the jail was found at fault because they should have listened to my mother. Now, let me tell you something about my mother again. My mother was a compulsive liar. And there were lots of rumors after my brother's suicide that she had talked him into doing something to himself just so he can get out of a jail and into a psych ward. Well, that's not true, and this is my proof of that. My brother he committed suicide when it was almost time to go home. The reason he did that is because they told him, you're going to have to register as a sex offender for the rest of your life. Now, mind you, he didn't card her, I grant you that, and it's not right what happened, but he was duped, and certainly that's not a crime that deserves capital punishment. My mother, and not only did she bring the note, but she continually called throughout the night. Please keep an eye on him. When the reports came out, they came out, the DOC in New York, they did their report, state troopers did a report, and I can't remember, there was I think one more, and they all found in favor of my mother. Now, what my mother had done is talk my brother's wife to sign over power of attorney to her. My mom was a smart and cunning lady. Here's a little story for you. She worked once at a restaurant, slipped in pudding, hurt her back, and was able to collect workman's comp for over 3 years. She's a born con woman. But my brother didn't do it because my mother told him to, and that killed my mother. It killed her, and it's just a few short years later we found her dead on her floor too. You know, I'm not giving you a hard luck story, but it feels so unfair that he never got a show. Nobody ever asked about him or wanted to tell his story. And it's tragic. He had small kids. So let me think if there's, because I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that I left out. So I'm going to take a little break and I'll get right back with you. I'm back. I appreciate everybody that's listened to this story. I would like to talk more about it at some point because there's so much more to the story that it doesn't even really make believable fiction. So, you know, I'm not making any money off this channel. I'm not attempting to. I just want to tell my little brother's story. I just want to, you know, he would have wanted his story told. And there's so much more that I can tell all you guys if you would just subscribe and maybe hit the like button if you like me. So I don't know, maybe nobody will watch this. Maybe everybody will watch this. But the one thing I do know is everything I told you is 100% true. I'd also like to do a video about growing up with a mother that was addicted to drugs, ripped people off, constantly committed crimes. It's a different view of childhood, but it's something these days that's just so common. So I'd just like to ask y'all, if you would, please subscribe. I would be tickled pink if I got some messages, or not messages, excuse me, some comments. So I just want to thank everybody for tuning in, and please look for my next video in 3 days. Thank you very much. I'm Rich Morris. Good night.